Hey, honey,
Yes, Barry?
let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin ti naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos Beach, and the El Dorado Restaurant Beach Club right next door. So you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week we are headed to the Marina Vallarta. We're going to learn a little bit about fishing, about sports fishing on the Bahia de Banderas, the big fish, the marlins and stuff. And we're going to meet a very funny guy. His name is Stan Gebruk, and Stan owns a place with a very funny name. Some might think it's a little bit risque. It's called Masturbators, Sports Fishing and Tackle, and Stan has some of the best fishing stories that you will hear. And his story is pretty good, too. But before we get to Stan and Masturbators, I can see that this is going to give us a little bit of a problem with our show that's rated clean. But hey, listen, if you're sensitive in that way, you may want to bail. But wait. But before you go, don't go yet. Let's see what's happening this week in Puerto Vallarta, the 16th day of December, 2020. Yesterday was a very big day for Francine Nunyan over at Bonito Kitchen. They opened up their Emiliano Zapata location over on Insurgentes 108. It's just south of the old Insurgentes Bridge. It's right on the river. It is a beautiful location. It is a beautiful little restaurant. They took a little more time to build it than they thought they would. But finally they've had their grand opening. So get on down there and have some of Francine's beautiful, wonderful food. It looks as lovely as it tastes. And get on down there, say hi to her, and eat. Speaking of eating and nice views, Casa Isabel has reopened again, and Isabel Minore has been pretty busy updating her palapas over at the Casa Isabel. She had those palm fronds removed from that big yellow house on the hill, and she replaced them with kind of like a tent awning, and it looks great. It looks beautiful. She won't have to worry about the stuff that happens when you have palm fronds hanging around all the time. Anyway, it looks great. And Isabel has been very careful. She's been very cautious during this pandemic, keeping a very low profile. But she's finally opened up for dinner and for drinks and for, the most remarkable sunset that you will see from up on the hill. It's a very unique view, by the way, from Casa Isabel. The city, you can see the town. You look over Zona Romantica towards the church in the bay at night. It is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And, of course, the sunsets are remarkable. So anyway, keep Isabel in mind. Get up there to that house, that yellow house on the hill. Mexico has a brand new 100 peso note. It's kind of pretty. Let me read from Mexico News Daily. It reads, the Bank of Mexico puts a new 100 peso banknote into circulation. The bill has a vertical format and some unique security elements. The new banknote is the third in a family of bills that was placed in circulation on Thursday, November 13th, 2020, and it features the likeness of 17th century feminist poet and nun, Sister Juana Inez de la Cruz. She's on one side, and an image of monarch butterflies in a pine, oak, and fir forest is on the other side. The predominantly red-colored note is made of polymer rather than paper. It has a vertical format, as I said earlier, and unique security elements, says the Bank of Mexico Governor Alejandro Diaz de Leon. And among them are embossing. They have embossing perceptible by touch on the Sister Juana side, and a transparent window, which is similar to the ones that are now existing on the 20 peso and 50 peso banknotes. And it has multicolor denomination and fluorescent ink. Presenting the new note, Diaz described Sor Juana as an erudite and combative writer who fought to overcome the obstacles that limited women's access to culture. She became one of the most important protagonists of the Spanish-American literature in the 17th century, he said. While speaking about the reverse side of the note, Diaz said that forests cover 16% of Mexico's territory and play an important role in supporting Mexico's biodiversity. The monarch butterflies featured on the note migrate to forests in Mexico State and Michoacan from Canada and the United States every year. The new 100 peso note replaces a paper bill featuring the likeness of Netzahualcoyo, the ruler of the state of Texcoco in the 15th century. That note remains legal tender but will be gradually withdrawn from circulation, and the release of this new banknote comes 2 years after the new 500 peso bill, featuring images of former President Benito Juarez and a gray whale, which entered circulation 1 year after a new 200 peso note was introduced. Yeah, we've talked about this along the years, haven't we? The face of Sor Juana appeared on the old 200 peso note, remember that? But it was removed in favor of independence heroes Miguel Hidalgo and Jose Morelos on the new one. The other side of that new 200 peso bill features an eagle flying over the Sonoran Desert. The fourth and fifth members of the new family of notes will be a 1,000 peso and a 50 peso bill. The new 1,000 note will feature the 33rd President of Mexico, Francisco I. Madero, Revolution-era feminist Ermilla Galindo, and revolutionary Carmen Cerdán. A jaguar will stalk its reverse side next to an image of the ancient Mayan city of Calakmul. And what else do we have here? The axolotl, a species of salamander endemic to Mexico City's Lake Xochimilco, will be featured on one side of the new peso bill, while gracing the other will be an image commemorating the founding of Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Empire at the time of the Spanish conquest. And I have a link to that article about that new money, about the new 100 peso note, in the show notes. You can find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. It's interesting. JR actually lives on Calle Sor Juana, and I always kind of wondered who was Sor Juana, and now I know. Now we all know, right? All right, so over the last few shows, I've been relaying to you the saga of the Lost Day Pack. So let me review with you and catch some of you all up who haven't been following along the last few weeks. Last month, I was on a public bus in Puerto Vallarta. I was on my way to exchange some dollars into pesos, and I was going to be recording an interview with a really lovely lady, Luisa, who you will meet soon, and she is a clothing designer. She's a seamstress, and she works over in Centro Vallarta. And when I got off the bus to exchange my money, I quickly realized that my day pack on the bus, which had all my recording equipment in it, it had my microphones, my recorder, had some money, a credit card, stuff like that. And I left it all on the bus. But my biggest regret was that I had some recorded interviews that were stored on a memory card that were actually inside of the recorder, inside of my Zoom 6 recorder that I take down whenever I come traveling down to Puerto Vallarta. And some of these had never been aired, and some of them had gone back as far back as January of this year. So the equipment was replaceable. It was kind of expensive, but not that expensive. But the recordings, they were important, and some of them I would never be able to get back even if I tried. Okay, I mean, there were others that people would sit down, no worries, they would sit down with me and re-record again. But there were some that I'll never be able to get back. So I kind of gave up hope getting back the day pack because the friends that I contacted about it said, if you lose it on a bus, it's pretty tough. You know, if you lose it in a cab or if you lose it in an Uber, the driver has much more control over what goes on. But if it's on a bus drivers have no control really over items that are left behind them, and people could just walk right up, pick up something, scoop it up, and off they go, walk right off the bus, and the driver wouldn't even know what happened. So when I got back to Los Angeles, a couple days after I returned home, I received an email from a guy who told me that his mother-in-law had found my backpack, and she wanted to return it to me, and she wanted a reward for it. And he left his phone number in the email, so I called him up. He got the email from a business card that I had left in the bag. So he called me up. I'm sorry, I called him up, and he said that his mother-in-law wasn't there, but that he would give the phone number that I was calling on to his mother-in-law, and that she would call me the next day, and she did. And of course, this is all done in Spanish, but that's okay because I speak Spanish. But anyway, we got into a discussion. Me and Marta. Marta was the mother-in-law, and she wanted more than I wanted to give her. She wanted like $250 US, and I was actually willing to pay her $150 or 3,000 pesos. She wanted 5,000 pesos, and so. As it turns out, I I thought about it for a while because I didn't want to pay a ransom. But as it turns out, I decided to go ahead and send the money to my friend Anastasio. I sent him a MoneyGram with 5,000 pesos, and I sent him an extra 500 pesos to do the deed. And they set up a time and a location, and the exchange was made last night, and Anastasio now has my stuff. So that day pack, that equipment that I thought I would never, ever, ever get back is now in Anastasio's hands, and I'll be able to pick that all up from him when I get back into Puerto Vallarta on the 9th of January. And I asked Anastasio if he would take a picture of Marta for me that I can share with you. And I haven't gotten the picture yet, but I'll pop it in the show notes next week so you can see what it looks like. Anyway, at any rate, it was an expensive lesson. But I was so surprised actually to get the bag back at all. I mean, and it was only because that I had I had a business card in the bag with my email address on it. Otherwise, I would definitely never ever have seen that bag again. It kind of makes me think about doing what my mom did. Stick address labels on everything that was of any value. Maybe I'll get myself a black Sharpie and mark the inside of my underwear. Nah. Hey, remember the hotel keys that you used to get? You used to get them, and on the key fob it said "drop in any mailbox to return." Remember that with an address, like a little PO box on it on the hotel fob. Can you imagine that happening today? No, you can't. Anyway, what do they use They use cards. They use credit cards to open up doors nowadays. Now, I did notice that, and I have noticed over the last weeks and months, that the exchange rate has been changing, and the dollar is not buying as many pesos when I'm sending cash to my Mexican friends lately. I saw this article in Mexico News Daily. Remesas, of course, are remittances that are, it's a term that's used when a Mexican sends money from the United States, or even when I do, to Mexico, to families and to their own families. And the funds are coming up a little short. This article confirms that. Soaring peso is inconvenient to some, but a quadruple whammy for the economy. A more costly corona on one side, a devastating plunge for remittance funds on the other side. This article is by Carlisle Johnson, published Monday, December 7th, 2020. It reads, Mike may be saying to his San Diego pals on their annual fishing trip to Ensenada, geez, guys, the corona's gotten a lot more expensive this year. Sally might be saying to Harry on their Ahahikpeed Tierra, geez, your pensions don't seem to be going as far as they used to. Now, Mike and Sally are both correct. On or about April 1st, 2020, generally reckoned as the start date for the pandemic, the interbank dollar exchange rate stood at just under 24.1 pesos to the dollar, having flirted with the round number of 25.1 only a few weeks earlier. As this is written, the rate has dropped to less than 20. Actually, yesterday was just at 20. It may be the invisible hand of Adam Smith in the free market. It may be, as currency traders say, a dirty float with a policy finger on the scale from Mexico's central bank. It may be a Faustian bargain with the U.S. to reduce immigration from zero population growth Mexico. It may be a nutrition police opt to reduce Mexico's waistline. Or it may be all of the above. Mike, Sally, and Harry are annoyed, even inconvenienced by the 20% erosion in the value of their dollars, but their recipients of the remittances from sacrificing Mexicans working in the U.S., Canada, and Europe may be devastated by the thoroughly 4 peso per dollar plunge in the purchasing power of the money sent back home. It's a triple or even quadruple whammy to an economy already struggling with the loss of employment, a disappeared tourism sector, and low oil prices. To reduce the situation to exchange rates for dummies, a higher value for a country's currency, stimulates imports, penalizes exporters, hastens capital outflow, and with the expected $36 billion a year in remittances, a 4 peso difference puts billions of kilos worth of fewer tortillas on the tables of Mexico's hungriest. Where are the exchange rates headed? Even Don Quixote wouldn't tilt that windmill, but he would certainly pay attention to the wind speeds. And I have an article. I have a link to this article, very clever article in the show notes. Now, I found this article very heartening. I've been kind of saying this for some time now. Even with cases of the Rona on the rise in Mexico and the United States, check this out from Mexico News Daily. Follow protocols and traveling in Mexico is not a problem, says the U.S. ambassador. The tourism sector is managing a difficult situation well, Christopher Landau says, and this article is published Thursday, December 10th, 2020. Traveling in Mexico is safe during the coronavirus pandemic if one follows sanitary protocols established by the destination where one travels, says the United States ambassador to Mexico. Christopher Landau told the newspaper El Financiero Wednesday during a culture and tourism event that he's seen how seriously restaurants and hotels and other tourism-related businesses take COVID safety protocols, and that gives him confidence that tourists can continue safely traveling in Mexico. The most important thing is to stabilize the industry, he said. I've been able to determine firsthand that by following health protocols, it's possible to go. It's important to go. Mental health is an important part of overall health. One can't be confined at home month after month after month. The ambassador's opinion appears to stand in stark contrast to other U.S. government entities' opinions about travel in Mexico, including the Department of State. The U.S. agreed with the Mexican government in March to prohibit non-essential land border crossings in both directions, although the restriction does not apply to air travel. On September the 8th, the U.S. Department of State advised American citizens to reconsider travel in Mexico due to COVID-19 and a suspended routine consular and visa services due to COVID-19 since March 18th. In late November, the United States Centers for Disease Control issued its highest level of advisory, warning against all travel to Mexico due to COVID, but nevertheless, Landau insisted on the tourism potential of Mexico. I congratulate the tourism sector for its spirit of responsibility. I understand very well that if there are outbreaks associated with tourism, that it's going to affect them a lot. What I have seen is that they are managing a very difficult situation quite well, he said. And I have an article. I have a link to that article in the show notes as well. They're from Mexico News Daily. So, with that encouragement from the United States ambassador himself, I think it's about time that we all go on vacation in Puerto Vallarta. So let's get to our guest, shall we? All right, our guest is a fisherman. He is an entrepreneur, and he's a really funny guy. His name is Stan Gebruk, and he owns a fishing and tackle place in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. It's got an unusual name. It's actually a pretty easy name to remember, kinda. But maybe for some people, some easier than others. But hey, here's where if you have the tender ears, you might want to stand by. Get ready for the pause button or the fast forward or whatever you want. Anyway, the name of the place is Masturbators Sportsfishing and Tackle. It's located in the Marina Vallarta, and Stan, when he's asked by people what he does for a living, he says, "I fold T-shirts and take pictures of dead fish." Now, even if you have absolutely no intention of ever fishing on the Bahia de Banderas, I want you all to hang in there, because this conversation, as you know, is going to be a lot more than just pulling fish out of the water. Stan has got some great stories. He's got some suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. And even though you may never be going fishing, you may end up buying a T-shirt, right? Or two. So, hey, let's go right now. Let's go to Avenida Paseo de la Marina, 161 in Marina Vallarta. Let's hear a story about the big fish that didn't get away. Stan Gebruk, the head swabby over at Masturbators Sports Fishing and Tackle, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Stan, thanks for coming on the show today.
Well, hello. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Well,
and wait. And what was your path that led you here to Puerto Vallarta?
Oh, boy, that's interesting. Well, first of all, I was born and raised in Southern California in Venice Beach, so that explains my name, my company name. And I was an engineer for more or less for 26 years. It was 14 with Douglas in Southern California, then 12 with Boeing. And after that, to make everything kind of short, I couldn't handle the weather in Seattle, if you want to know the truth. It just drove me absolutely crazy. I couldn't handle it. I had to get the hell out of there. So I basically came down on a 3-week vacation that turned into 21 years.
Oh, man. That I hear that happens a lot around here.
Well, you come here once and you don't want to ever go home.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that way. So what did you do? You just sell everything and move down here? I mean, how did you do that?
I was in the middle of a divorce, so it just seemed a whole lot easier to come down here than hang around the wife. So when I was kind of doing my business travels and things, I would spend time here, and I just didn't want to leave. I mean, it was just, the weather's warm. I don't have to deal with rain up there. It's not dark. It's not gloomy. And I'm not dealing with a bunch of professional types that were driving me nuts. And so I'd fly around the world, and we wound up renting a house over here with me and my brother. Cause he was believe it or not, he was in timeshare down here, was making a bucket of money.
Yeah.
And I mean, buckets of money. People don't understand how much money you can make doing some of that stuff. So he was here, and then would come back down, and then one thing led to another. So, I was traveling around so much, I could spend a lot of time here. So we wound up renting this place over here in the corner, and it was expensive. It was over at Puerto Iguana. So we wound up having our own boat, and we were fishing nuts. And I just, said, why not hang down there instead of going all the way back up to Seattle? Because, hell, it's another 6-hour flight practically from, well, by the time you do layovers and everything, it's a good 6 hours. And I said, well, hell, I can just save that. And once you do that 10 or 12 times, you realize you save yourself about a week.
Right.
It's like, so I saved a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's how it happened.
All right. So how did you decide to get into the, into the sports tackle business?
Oh, well, listen, this was never any, I mean, we all make plans for something that never happens. It seems like a lot of us wind up in that situation. And exactly I was. my brother and I were always into fishing. My father got us into fishing as kids. And I came down here for a 3-week vacation and I just started doing some things. And of course, if anybody knows anything about my brother around here, we're a little bit famous that way. There was just a whole lot of emotional tornadoes, I think would be a good way to put it, So I wound up going into the fishing business more or less by accident. Well, because we had this place over here, we had a bunch of tackle that we used to go up to Fred Hall Fishing Show, and we had this house just stuffed full of tackle. And one day, my brother would always tell people, well, if you need anything, just come on by the house. We got stuff. Tanya, that was his wife's name was Tanya. Tanya will give it to you. And, she got really mad about people coming at 5:30 in the morning, knocking on the door, looking for, hooks and fishing leader and, all kinds of lures and stuff like that. Of course, she was beautiful and she shows up at the door in just the flimsiest of whatever, and of course he's Mexican, guys, and I mean that affectionately. I thought their eyeballs were going to fall out her head. She got blonde hair and green eyes, and so one day she just said, I had enough of that. So, I'm taking this whole room of stuff, which is basically a bodega warehouse full of tackle. You couldn't believe hooks we'd spend $15 for here. We were getting for 45 cents.
Oh, over at the Fred Hall Fishing Show.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, how do you say no to that?
Right.
So if maybe you would get a lure, maybe 3, 4, or 5 would be good. We'd buy 20.
Yeah.
It was an addiction. It was kind of like, ooh, it was worse than the vendors on the beach. So one day Tanya said, I had enough of this. I'm just going to open up this store where I'm going to blah, 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 blah. And I looked over and I realized that, I bought half that stuff.
Right.
And I said, well, Tanya, I mean, that's half mine. She goes, well, it's not going to be here anymore. And that's how I wound up in the fishing business with my brother.
So she found this place?
She actually started the damn business, yeah.
Oh, she did?
Yeah. Of course, the divorce with my brother is a whole nother story. It's like, I didn't start this business. I just wound up bailing it out. It was almost like it landed. I like to say it landed in my lap, but it landed on me more like a shark, if you want to know the truth, with an open mouth.
Yikes.
Yeah. So it's Mexico. So we've all got our stories. But that's basically how we started the business.
All right. So Masturbators Sports Fishing. Masturbators, kind of an interesting little name. Where'd that come from?
Well, I hear that a lot. Honestly, I hear that a lot. So, it's interesting. We were called blue water fishing, and we had a couple of different names we went back and forth with. And, they just didn't have a zing, just didn't have that zip, It just wasn't real. It wasn't an attention grabber, I guess you would say. So when we were kids, when I lived in Venice Beach, we had the Venice Pier 2 blocks away from us. So, you don't worry about your kids disappearing back then. And so my mom would make us sandwiches and she'd put them in our tackle boxes and she'd pat us on the head as we were walking out the door. And she could yell and hear us. So she'd pat us on the head walking out the door and she'd say, well, there go my little masturbators. Well, I'm 9 years old. Well, that's right. We're a little masturbator. We are fishermen. We're like. So I turned about 12 one day, and I'm at school, and I'm kind of joking, making a name about masturbators. We're masturbators, and my friends are like, going, dude, you know what that means? So they're making fun of me. So I went home and I said, no, that can't be right. That's my mom. She wouldn't do that. Go back home. I said, Mom, kind of like, you know what that stuff means? She looked at us, and she goes, well, I was just wondering how long it would take you little assholes to figure that out. I'm kind of like, I should have figured it out years ago. I'm like, holy cow. So we were sitting here, and we were just sitting down there in the bar one day, and, with my mother, it turned 65, was her birthday, and so she was down here, and so we're all just having dinner, and we're just talking back and forth about what names to call it. And, of course, when you have a couple of beers, everything gets even funnier.
Oh, yeah.
And she looked over, she said, well, why don't y'all just call it masturbators like you always have been calling each other, And we're like going, well, we can't do that. We can't do that. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Yeah.
Of course you can't.
Yeah,
Although it's all
you
over
can.
your building over here.
Yeah,
so I
but
guess
the funny,
it happened.
but the funny thing is you just couldn't get it out of your head. There's like masturbator T-shirts, and everybody's masturbator this and masturbator that, but I've never seen a fishing company with the name Masturbators, and to me, it seems like the most logical name to call your company.
Natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's one in Delaware, and there's one in Southern Florida, and we play with the trademarks, but legally I can't enforce anything because I'm not in 2 states in California to trademark any. But anyway, these are good companies, but the fact of the matter is, it's just funny. It's funny.
Well, it's funny, and you got some great T-shirts in here that
Well, the logo sells a lot of them. Masturbators, we don't jerk you around. I mean, it's funny. I can only imagine who's laughing when you're hearing this right now. Masturbators, we don't jerk you around.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm serious. Well,
T-shirts sell like hotcakes, And the funny thing about the T-shirts is, we're sitting in the shop. We're not thinking anything. Open the shop up. We got a fishing company, and so we're putting stuff out. And a guy comes in one day and he says, "Hey, I love your company. I had a great time fishing with you guys, but I want a T-shirt." Like, ding.
Really?
You want a T-shirt? Well, we don't have T-shirts. I'm like, okay, so we'll get a T-shirt. So we get one stinking T-shirt. Same guy comes in back here. He goes, well, I've already got that T-shirt. So lo and behold, we started making T-shirts, and people started buying them, and then hats came next, and then coffee cups, and you name it, everything, So we're getting ready right now to expand into tackle. We're moving into tackle and online sales, and we're going to open a catalog, and it's kind of like fun that turned into some, well, I don't know how to put it, money-making fun, I guess you'd say.
It turned into gold. It
Yeah.
turned into masturbating gold.
If it's not fun, why would you do it? I mean, right now, if you don't laugh if we talk about it, we don't do it.
No.
I know it's ridiculous, but it's the way it works.
All right. So when people come here, they're going on fishing tours. They're going on what is it? What do you offer? What is it that you offer?
Well, we're primarily about fishing. We won the WBS Bill Fishing Series World Championship for Marlin in 2000 and 2001. Now you have to. It's kind of like the U.S. Open. You have to win a tournament to qualify to get into that tournament. And then we won that tournament. So we won the WBS tournament, and we got into the Bill Fishing Series, and we won that 2 years in a row. After that, we wound up getting a lot of sponsors. We started entering the Bisbees. We had Maui Jim sponsoring us. We had Secret Poles. We had quite a few people. And we were entered into all the tournaments around here. So everything just went kind of crazy. And after that, well, we were the first people here with a web page. And, people around here were impressed. Oh, my God, they got a web page.
Yeah.
But because of that, and but to be really honest with you, one of the biggest kickers that got us going is somebody walked in the door and got one of our masturbator stickers. And it was just pretty simple. It was just a marlin on fire. It said masturbators above, and underneath it said, we won't jerk you around. Well, back in those days, on Thursday night, Jay Leno would take the stickers, take all these stickers, and he would hold these things up,
yeah,
funny billboards and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, one day, somebody sent him one of our stickers. Right? And
That's golden.
Yeah,
That's
no,
golden.
I mean, I'll tell you, this is funnier than heck. You can't believe it. So one day somebody sent him a sticker. So Thursday night, he goes, well, next time you're in Puerto Vallarta, he goes, go to Masturbators. They won't jerk you around. Our logo. So everybody's laughing. Ha, ha, ha. Funny stuff, right? Funny stuff. The next day, we got 50 phone calls. 50. They found us because it was before the internet. 50 phone calls asking us if we were a real company. And we had so much penetration because people would find us on the webpage. Our web pages went up and went off crazy. And then from that point on, it was amazing what happened, because people down here, they have their local guys that do all well. And we work with all the Mexican nationals here. That's not a problem. But they walk in the door and they know that I understand what they have as expectations,
Yeah.
See, because like you take a Mexican person, for instance, he'll walk in the door and he'll know that the minute you drop the price, he's going to be on, maybe not quite as nice boat, maybe not quite a good captain, maybe not quite a good equipment, but it'll be okay. And, they're willing to do that. But an American or a Canadian, they're not like that. They come in the door, they think everything's on a level playing field and that they're going to negotiate the price because the product's all going to be the same. So, of course, it's not like that. And so that turns into some kind of interesting stuff. But we don't discount or we don't cheapen the service to meet the local market, because the bottom line is it doesn't matter how much you paid for it. If you had a good time, you'll never think about what you paid for. You'll just think about the fun that you had. On the other hand, if you have a bad time, you'll never shut up about how much it costs.
Yeah.
So
You'll never. That's exactly right. I mean, the bad reports are always outweigh the good reports by 100 to 1.
Yeah. They say you need 10 positive comments to outweigh one bad comment.
Yeah.
I know that's true in TripAdvisor.
Yeah. All right. So someone comes in, they want to go out, they want to go catch some big fish. What will they expect? What will they get?
Well, Puerto Vallarta is an interesting place, and I write a lot of articles for people like VallartaToday.com, and I actually put things out there exactly answering these questions, because all the times during the year things are different. Most people come down during high season and they think they're going to go out there and they're going to catch Moby Dick. Well, I got news for you. Moby Dick went south for the winter, okay?
Yeah.
Most of the best fishing will be inside the bay, so you're talking 4-6 hours, 8 hours at the most. You can probably get some sailfish, but for the most part, when you get into the winter season, you're not going to be finding tuna, marlin, and all that stuff. You got to remember that the big fish are here when they don't want to be here, when it's hot and humid, and so
that's the best fishing season. Yeah?
That's the best. Well, a lot of people think November is the best season, best month of the year to go fishing, but frankly, when we get around the middle of September, things really start to catch on fire.
What kind of fish are you catching out here?
Now, right now, we're seeing black marlin. Black marlin right now running 350 to 500 pounds, but you got a 500-pound marlin out there. It could be 1,000 pounds the next thing you know, because they're following the currents all over the place. It's just because you got a 500-pounder doesn't mean there's not a 1,000-pounder out there.
Yeah.
And then tuna, we're seeing a lot of tuna now. We've been seeing some very positive results on the laws that they've changed around here, and the seiners are kind of going away. And so the tuna we're seeing right now, if you're out there, it's a Corbetania. It could be anywhere from 70 to about 200 pounds.
Wow.
But it's not unusual if you go up by, let's say, the Tres Maria Islands, which is 100 miles away. And, of course, we've got boats for that. It's a pretty expensive deal, but you can literally, every time you throw your line in the water, you could actually catch a world record fish.
Really?
And that would be a yellowfin tuna. But we have blue marlin, we have black marlin, we have yellowfin tuna, sailfish, dorado, roosterfish are kind of a little bit of a different bird. They come and go pretty much when they want. They chase sardines around a lot. But the minute we get into winter time and you get all the tourism going on, everybody wants to catch a marlin. It's like, well, you kind of miss that one by about 4 months.
Right.
So.
What happens when somebody catches a 200-pound tuna, let's say? I mean, can that be shipped back?
Nah, you can't ship tuna back. That's one of the laws that they have here. You cannot ship fish out of Mexico. And believe it or not, it's illegal to ship sailfish out of the country. I don't know really why. I've never really looked into that. But when it comes to fishing down here, you pretty much, the only thing you can take home with you is the stuff that you carry on in the airplane. You can't ship it. And they just changed the law now. They used to allow dorado to be shipped out of the country with any special license or anything. But the numbers took such a big hit that they changed that law now, and thank God for the last 3 years we've been seeing increases in the dorado numbers every year.
Yeah.
So, like right now in the bay, you can catch a 25-pound dorado and have a wonderful time and eat for a week on that.
Exactly. So when people catch something that big, they're just kind of donating it to like a local.
Well, a lot of people do different things. Like in Hawaii, for instance, and a lot of boats here, what they'll do is they say, well, they keep the fish, but what we promote release. They have regulations here now. If somebody gets a billfish and they want to get their picture taken with it, or they want to come in with it because people do like to eat marlin, that's fine. But the regulations say that you can catch one billfish, and so that's fine. But we're not going to let you keep 5. You catch them, release them. That's fine. Catch them all day long. But really, who wants that much marlin? I mean, you got a 600-pound fish. That's a lot of meat, man.
Yeah. So if you were to catch it and release a marlin after I don't know, how long does it take to pull a big 500-pound marlin out of the water?
How would you say? How long would it take me to bring in a 500-pound marlin?
Yeah.
Well, that depends. You're looking at least 3 hours.
Right. Wow.
Depending on the person. You know, some people, a guy that's experienced, he knows how to use a fighting chair. He's using a belt that, that's pretty good. But marlin, believe it or not, are an easier fish to get on the boat than a tuna. Because the tuna is just plain dead weight. I mean, when you got a marlin, he's jumping, he's moving around. And interesting thing about a marlin is a lot of people don't know this. When they get up in the water and they're shaking their head violently, and the more violently they're shaking their head, that's an experienced marlin. Because what he's doing is he's trying to catch that line with his bill and cut that line with as easy as he can. So a lot of times he'll catch it with the bill. It'll pull the hook out of his mouth. That's when they say they spit the hook. Or sometimes you'll get bill wrap where they'll wrap around their bill and you're reeling in backwards and they wind up drowning. But, the funny thing about a marlin is you get one out there, you'll never forget it. But a tuna, that's like reeling in sacks of cement. Yeah, they're really, honestly,
Wow.
They don't jump, they don't do anything. And you can just sit there. You figure for an average person, for every 100 pounds that tuna weighs, you're going to be in that chair.
Wow.
And if you have a harness, if you wear a harness, we'll put you a harness on you. A lot of people can't stand and chew gum and reel the pole at the same time. So you have to do a couple of things like guide the line. You got to balance your weight. You got to pull the pole. You got to reel on the way down. And that a lot of times they can't do this. We just put them in a fighting chair and they use their arms and we come over and we help them in the end. But that's just dead weight. That's just dead weight.
Amazing. Wow. All right, so if you're taking 4 hours to reel in a marlin, that you're out there for 6 or 7 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, if you're going out for marlin, that would be more of a 10-hour day.
Okay.
Because we have to go 28 miles just to get into deep water where the marlin are. That's where the deep currents are. I mean, the Bay of Banderas is a beautiful place, and there's a lot of really interesting things about the bay. But the fact of the matter is the big fish don't come into the bay. Well, we'll get smaller sailfish in the bay. They might be 140 pounds, which is just about as big as I'll get. Even a tournament would be 140 pounds. But we'll get smaller striped marlin, for instance. We'll get smaller blue marlin. But if you want the big fish, you got to get out past the Marietta Islands.
Okay. All right. What kind of boats are you using?
Well, we have a little bit of everything. With us, we found that there is no one boat that sells well, so we have several. Now, we used to have 3 boats, and now we're down to about 2, basically, and they're smaller boats, but I work with about 15 different boats altogether. I'm contracted with these people, and, with our history the way it used to be, I'm pretty well, I'm the primary fishing company in Puerto Vallarta. If I want to be bold and take that step, I'm the only American company left in Puerto Vallarta doing fishing that you can actually walk in and find a shop on. So we're kind of like the last gringos.
The last of the well, you wouldn't be a Mohican now, would you?
Yeah, no.
No. All right, so you deal with a lot of people. You probably have some pretty good stories. Maybe you do you have any funny stories maybe you could share with us?
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you something that I thought was really funny and kind of like the Jay Leno thing. What happened was I took these ladies out fishing, and basically what happened was this. One day, it's a little bit of a story. I'm out there, and we had these gentlemen. They wanted to rent half a boat, one of my bigger boats, about $1,000 boat, and so these gals rent the other half of the boat, and they were flight attendants, right? And there were like 2 or 3 of them. So they would take a turn catching fish back and forth. I can put a bunch of people on the boat. So I told the gentleman 2 days before that, I said, yeah, we rented the other half of the boat. And they were asking about who rented the boat. And I said, oh, these real nice flight attendants. They like to go fishing. They want to go out on the boat. And so half the boat, you're going to have 3 flight attendants with you. You have a good time. Well, the wives found out. And they weren't having none of that. So they get here in the morning, but they didn't tell me. They were just going to walk away from the deposit, right? And the cost of the boat. So they're not coming. The wives don't want those guys with hookers on the boat. I cleaned that up with hookers on the boat. And so the girls were not going to go. They weren't going to go. And I'm going, oh, man, this is just, because they were really nice girls. They were funny girls. They were, 35, 40-ish, 45-ish running there. So I thought, well, you know what? Forget about it. You'll pay for the fuel. I'll go with you. That'll make it. I'll spend my day fishing too because I don't get to go fishing. So we'll just call it even for whatever, and we'll go fishing. So we go out there, and we were just running some baits, and we have these things called a teaser, right? And when you put this teaser back, a marlin will come over and they'll bill whap it. They hit it with their bill, and it's a lot of people don't know, but these billfish are certifiable. They're crazy. I mean, they're not going after that because they're hungry. They were going after it because they don't want them in their water. This is my space. You don't belong here, right? So you drop this teaser back and they beat the thing out of this. Well, one of the terms that we use, and it's a real fishing term, is we make fish come. What does this do? It makes fish come. I mean, it's, but if you're with masturbators and the double entendre kind of thing, you know how that works, right? So we're out there and I'm putting the thing back. And of course, these girls, honestly, they were taking Dramamine to keep from getting seasick and drinking wine. Well, if you know anything, that throws you for a loop, man. That really does throws you for a loop. So they're coming over and they're pretty funny anyway. And they're going like, well, now what does this do again? And I said, well, you kind of put it in the water and you kind of set it back there and they come over and they beat on it a little bit with their bill and you drop the bait back and they take it. And it's, so what does this do? I said, well, it makes fish come. It makes fish come. I said, well, how does it make fish come? And I said, well, they just, and I looked over and I'm going, okay, I got it. Okay, I got it. So all day long was all about making fish come, right? So we came back and I told my brother about this and we all sat there laughing our butt off, right? We just couldn't believe how funny this was. I mean, after a couple of beers, it got even funnier because he started talking about other things, right? So my brother said, well, we need a T-shirt. We need a T-shirt. And I'm going, we can't make a T-shirt. I mean, what are you going to put on there? We make fish come? And he goes, exactly. He goes, exactly. That's exactly what we're going to do. Right? So I'm going, no, man, we can't do that. And my brother, he's just like going, oh, yes, we can. So we had 50 shirts made. 50 shirts, because as a minimum, we have made 50 shirts. So when I had 50 shirts made, I just went down to the docks and started throwing them at captains and first mates and stuff just for fun. It was just for fun, right? Well, lo and behold, we started getting people coming to the shop looking for these shirts like crazy. They went absolutely crazy for these shirts. Well, one day, this guy comes in and he buys a shirt, just like a normal shirt, right? And at this is the time when Southwest Airlines was switching from wearing hot pants to being kind of like a Christian airline thing, right? So they kind of went from being sexy to not unsexy, I guess you would put it. I don't know. So it turns out that the week before this guy, and I'll tell you about this guy that bought the T-shirt, there was a girl on Southwest Airlines, and she was a Hooter girl, and she was a Hooters waitress. And they made her put a sweater on because they told her that she was just dressed too sexy. I don't know if you remember this, right? Well, I saw the pictures of her. She was wearing a long skirt, and there wasn't, trust me, there wasn't anything super sexy about this, and I was surprised. But 2 weeks later, Southwest Airlines tells this guy who gets on my plane wearing a masturbator's We Make Fish Come shirt, right? With this chick sitting on a boat, grabbing onto the bill of this marlin. The marlin's tongue is hanging out, and it says, we make fish come up in the corner. It's just hilarious. In fact, I'm going to put a thing out here so you can put your face in there, get your picture taken with it, right? You've seen those things, right? So the guy gets on the plane, and they tell him that he has to take it off, turn it inside out if he wants to wear it, or he's got to get off the plane. And they kicked him off the plane. Well, this winds up turning into big news. It's all over Fox News. It's all over CNN News about this hypothetical fishing company, Masturbators, and they're in Puerto Vallarta, but it's not really this real company, but it's this T-shirt, right? Well, I'm hearing this, and I'm going, well, no, we exist. I might be a peanut shop in the world, but I exist. I'm here, So you would go out on, they were talking about this for a week because all of a sudden it turned into a freedom of speech issue. And, wait a minute, do people have the right to do that? And it went back and forth. So this went on for a week. So all of a sudden, you would look in the comments and people are calling me up and saying, Stan, I said, did you see the comments on these? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. So I go out there, I start looking there. There's like comment after comment after comment. No, he's in Puerto Vallarta. I was getting 35 hits a day on my webpage, all right? That was like 2009. I'm getting like 35 hits a day. It went from 35 hits to 8,500 overnight. All of a sudden, I got people sending me emails. They want to go fishing. They're coming in. They're buying shirts. So it's the only shirt I cannot stop making because people get tired again. Like, oh, you need a new shirt. I got to keep switching shirts. But that one, they come in. They buy them 10 at a time. 10 at a time. And I had a team. I had a pastor or a priest or anyway comes walking in and he buys 10 of these fish come shirts. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're a religious person. You should be buying this. He goes, well, I have a team called Master Batters. I said, Master Batters? I said, yeah, but this is Master Baiters. He goes, it's close enough. I'm going, okay, here's 10 of them. Here you go. I even gave him a hat for free. Here, take a hat, dude. You wear this. Gotta love it.
All right. I'd ask you if there's another one, but I don't know if the show's long enough. I'm kidding. No. All right, let's leave this fishing for now. Let's go out into Puerto Vallarta. It could be the marina. It could be anywhere in Vallarta.
Right.
This is the bonus round, which we ask you your favorite breakfast, lunch, and dinner spots. And so we're in the marina. I imagine that you probably eat a lot here, but what's your favorite breakfast spot?
Well, here in the marina, I don't know why they don't call it Restaurant Row in Marina Vallarta. We have so many different restaurants, and they're all really good. We don't really have a bad restaurant in the marina. So, but personally, I have a tendency to I kind of like certain people, and there's certain businesses you like, so I support them a lot. Like if I'm going to go to dinner, 90% of the time I go to Fajita Banana. It's a great little sports bar. Carlos, the owner, is a good friend of mine. I've known him since the day we basically opened the business. And it's just a real general thing. He's a friend, so I pretty much hang out at Fajita Bananas for dinner. For breakfast...
What do you get when you go to the Fajita Banana?
Oh, well,
dinner?
Is it
fajitas or what?
Well, they have great fajitas. The food is pretty good, and it's kind of moderately priced, but they've got this molcajete, which is this lava bowl that's on fire. You don't want to touch that thing. Trust me. It's kind of like fajitas, but in a bowl. And it, comes with a couple of years of cactus. That was the first time I ever had cactus, and I really like it. I found out how the benefits of it, nutritionally. So I love the cactus, and they put pineapple in there and a couple of green onions, and they got this hot sauce and the chicken and the pineapple and the rice and everything you get with the fajitas. And, for about, I don't know what, about $10. You go over there and you can feed two people on that. Yeah. I get probably 10 of those a month.
Yeah, you really, Mr. Molcajete over here.
Mr. Molcajete, yeah.
All right.
Now you asked me about breakfast. There's a couple places I like around here. I like D's Route 66 because it's a diner and they've always got the pancakes and the bacon and the eggs and the coffee and they always got some kind of special going on there. I like that a lot. But there's this other little place over here, kind of a hole in the wall called Lupita's, where for 65 pesos, $3, $3.50, something like that.
Right.
You can get like huevos rancheros. This woman makes handmade chile relleno every day. And I mean, it's just, the food is incredible. And you look, well, you're not making any money, but she makes enough business where she does okay. And it's just, so breakfast, that's good. But if I'm going to go to a real fancy place at night, I like to go to Trio. I like Trio in downtown.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of history. The place is beautiful. It's not crazy expensive, and you get a good amount of food, and it's a classy place.
It is. You have a favorite dish there?
Not really, because Wolf, the owner / chef, he changes the menu around so much where you don't have the same menu that much. So it's kind of like Russian roulette, but you always come out the winner.
Right. Yeah,
you're not shooting yourself in the head.
That's why you go back.
Yeah.
Any others?
Well, there's a lot of really great restaurants around the place. Depends what you like. Portobello's here in Marina Vallarta is absolutely incredible for Italians. One of the top 10 restaurants. I like Benito's. He's more or less a bistro. And like on Wednesday night when we're not, COVIDed up, he's got live music on Wednesday night. He used to do $1 martinis for the ladies. So that was always a good thing. But now it's just such a locals place. And, if you want to meet some trendy, classy people that are kind of business types, that's one of my hangouts at night too, besides fajitas.
Benito's.
Yeah. But,
right.
I live right here in the marina and I pretty much hang out around here.
Yeah. Yeah. It is kind of a schlep to go from here in town.
But I do like La Palapa. I will say that. I go down there and make a point to hang out at their beach club a little bit or get a little something to eat.
Yeah. Very classy place. If you had a word of advice for a first-time visitor to Puerto Vallarta, what would it be?
Well, one of the funny things that happens is, and we've talked about this before, it seems like when people get off the airplane, they just kind of leave their brain behind. They're just so happy to be here. The very first thing they think about is just get me to the hotel and get a margarita in my hand. And they're walking around, and everybody they meet is so nice and so friendly, and we're real famous for that. And they'll walk up to this guy, and he'll sit there, and he'll want to sell them a fishing boat, or he'll want to sell them a tour, or something, and he's going to make them a deal that's almost free, and where are you going to go from there? So you give this bozo some money, he gives you a little slip, and he gives you a phone number that doesn't work, and an office that you can't find him at, and when you do go looking for him around wherever you found him, he's gone.
Uh-huh.
Not
there.
Yeah, but of course you probably never do the same thing on the street where you live, so there you go.
Yeah. That's great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we do see people wandering around kind of with that dazed look in their eye.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're a tourist town. We have millions. I think last year we had something like 8 million people between here and Nuevo Vallarta, and you do wind up getting the tourist type things that happen. So you still have to keep your wits about you. But for the most part, Puerto Vallarta, most people are going to look out for you. If you're stupid and walking down the street, somebody's going to grab you and make sure you don't fall down and break your neck. Or if you're in a store and you can't figure your change out, there's going to be some little lady or some, national person there that's going to say, no, this is what you want to do, and they'll help you out. And you just wind up feeling so much positive energy that you just want to help everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't. Naturally, you can't. And one thing that a lot of people think is really nice, that they see these kids walking around and they're selling things, and they're young, and, they walk up and they give them money. Well, the Americans and the Canadians, they don't see the local public notices saying don't give these kids money because the families are using them and they're not going to school. So that's another thing. I don't care how cute that kid is. I don't care what he's selling. You're not helping him, giving him any money. As a matter of fact, it goes against help. It makes them dependent, and they don't go anywhere.
Yeah, just the opposite.
Yeah.
That's great advice. How about words of warning?
Words of warning. Well, in Mexico, we have a law. It's a basic law. And it's like, you always look down.
Yeah.
You always look down. While you're walking around watching the view, you can quite literally step in a hole. And a manhole is not impossible.
Wow. Yeah.
I've seen manhole covers with, I've seen manholes with no cover, but a 2x4 across it, so you wouldn't fall in.
That sounds
and,
safe.
These days with people walking around with cell phones in their hands. But no, I mean, that is seriously words of wisdom. I can tell you times where I was looking down, step in a hole. We got cobblestone roads around here. It's just look down.
Yeah.
Rule number 1 is always look down. There's a lot of things you have to be careful about, but when you're getting ready to spend your money, make sure that you're giving your money to somebody that is legally responsible for their actions. I don't know how else to put that.
Okay.
Like I was talking about these promoters selling boats in the morning, and of course the boat doesn't show up, and then nobody knows anything about you, and you're sitting there wondering what the hell happened. Well, you trusted the wrong guy. So for that reason, you want to walk into a shop or a store. I don't care who it is. A guy on the street, you can buy things from him, but you're never going to be able to take it back to him. For one thing, you really have questionable quality if you don't know what you're looking for. And again, there's no responsibility if there's no solid location for you to go back to and talk to these people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So use somebody who is who you can trust. Obviously, somebody who is steady.
And if you
maybe
don't
even
know
has
somebody,
a store.
If you don't know somebody, ask anybody but the taxi driver. Okay.
Good one. Yeah.
Those guys have relatives everywhere.
All right. Let's go back. Let's go back to masturbators sports fishing. Tell us. You have a blog, and that's fantastic. And you also so we can find you on your blog. Where else can we find you?
Well, boy, well, these days, it's real easy to find me on my webpage, naturally, which is masturbators.com.mx. Can't forget the .mx for Mexico. But I also write for VallartaToday.com, I also write for the PV Mirror on a weekly basis, and you can get my articles there. All this is in English. I do newsletters as well, and I do video fishing reports, which I post mostly on Vallarta Today. And those are easy. Sometimes I write for magazines. I've written many other magazines for instance, Western Outdoor News, Marlin Magazine, Sportfishing Magazine, so some of the old stuff, but I haven't written anything for those guys for years. But I'm all over the place. If you just type in masturbators, Puerto Vallarta, you'll find so much stuff out there. It'll take you an hour to go through it.
Exactly right. Now, where exactly are you in the marina? Where can people find you in the marina?
Well, I'm between dock A and B. Now, to most people, that means absolutely nothing.
Right.
Right? So if you're standing at the lighthouse in the marina, most people know that landmark. If you're facing the water, I am all the way down to the right.
Okay.
And it's easy to find me because I've got my buildings painted blue and I got fish all over it.
It'll be even easier because I'll have a map that'll take you right to his front door, and you can find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. I'll also have links that'll take you to his website and his blog page, and I'll have I'll even have a picture of. You never know, and we'll be able to see his smiling face.
Yeah, what the heck? We'll give you a T-shirt and you get your picture taken in that too.
There you go. Right,
that'll make you happy.
You said you're getting ready to do some online sales and stuff like that. Are you going to be able to sell T-shirts online and send them off?
Being a company here in Mexico, every time somebody buys a T-shirt here, they go home. Naturally, I could sell 10 more to the neighborhood because it's unusual. It's funny. We're a real company, and they're kind of classic. They're kind of nostalgic looking. So we're starting an online store. It's going to take me another couple more weeks to get the puppy up. But with Amazon now, I can basically get product to them, and they can ship it around the country. So now my shirts can be $25 instead of $75.
Ah, all right.
Yeah. So we're getting that. We're trying to get that real fast before Christmas comes up. But we've been so busy juggling so many different real opportunities. It's kind of hard to pick which one I'm going to get done first.
I know. All right. So would you say that if somebody is getting ready to make that trip, they're going to want to fish.
Yeah. Okay.
Should they call you first? Should they get in touch with you first before they even hop on an airplane?
Well, if they're going to come fishing, they should first do some research, do a little research. And there's plenty. I've got videos online. There's a lot of people, a lot of different stuff online. I mean, I'm not the only fishing person here. I'm just the only one with a shop.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot of people here. But the first thing you should do is, just kind of see what kind of reports you can get, find out what's online. TripAdvisor is a good one. See, TripAdvisor is a funny animal because a lot of these guys are going out there. They have their family members and their best friends and their high school buddies. They all jump on there and they all start playing, boy, this guy's great. So if you got a guy that's got, 100, 200, 300 and not one bad comment, well, that guy's playing games with TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
I had a guy come in and write a bad thing about me because he was such a bozo. I kicked him out. I told him I didn't want to take him fishing. He went TripAdvisor, and him and his girlfriend put 2 comments on me, both with different names. And I said, they didn't even, so I called him TripAdvisor. I said, they didn't even go fishing with me. He said, it's okay. It's all within the scope of the, I'm like, oh, Jesus. Holy cow. So, number one, look for some bad comments, because if there's no bad comments, you got problems. Yeah. Really.
Right. All right. All right, well, Stan, is there anything I left out? Is there something that we need to talk about before we say goodbye today?
Well, there's so many things that people just don't know about this place that are so good. As like the medical, for instance. You can come down here. I literally wrote an article about the medical stuff, and Google said I was lying. Facebook said I was lying. I told everybody you could get a crown down here for, $200, 4,000 pesos, and there's at least 2,000 in the States. And people come down here and they said it was impossible. So the medical care is something that's really good down here, number one. Number two, everybody thinks that you can't drink the water, right?
Right.
Well, you can drink the water. I've been drinking it forever. Mexico, you can drink the water, but Puerto Vallarta, everything goes through an aquifer. It's about as clean, as fresh as you could possibly get. I've been drinking stuff out of the tap in my kitchen for 21 years. I don't have it filtered. Nothing. You don't have to worry about nothing.
I was reading an article in Vallarta Today that you wrote. Is it what's? I'm trying to remember, but the column is like living like a Mexican. What is it?
No, living like a local.
Living like a local.
Living like a local. Yeah, I've put quite a few articles.
You
out
had
that.
one about acclimating.
Oh yeah.
And
I got a lot of response on that one.
Yeah, maybe you ought to share that with my listeners
on
just before we go. You know.
Well, you know, when you live in a place like Seattle and your blood is about as thick as molasses, and you come down to humidity central and it's August, you just think you feel like you're melting.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, you're walking in, you're taking 3 showers a day, and it just doesn't help. You know, so walking in and out of air conditioning, and then of course the business and taking it up with my brother and all that kind of stuff. I felt like my liver was moving around. I really did not feel well.
Yeah.
You know, if you can imagine a beer bottle in and out of the refrigerator, you know, that's what I felt like. So I started talking to some of my captains, and of course they've been known to tell me tales before. And I'm talking to these guys, and I said, well, how do you guys do this? I mean, how do you acclimate? And they're, well, number one, you stupid gringo, you got to get out of the air conditioning. You got to live like we do. And I'm like, oh, man, you telling me I'm going to sleep at night. It's going to be 85 degrees with 90% humidity. How's that going to happen? And they said, well, you know what? Until you do this, you're not going to do anything. And I said, all right, so what is it? So they told me. And before I tell you, I refused to believe it. I said, no, this can't be right. This can't be right. I said, no, that's what we do. So I went and I talked with some other guys, and guys that I trust, that I truly believe wouldn't pull my leg, and they're kind of shaking my head. They say, you going to do that? Because it's real. Yeah, it's real. And so everybody knows it's the Mexican acclimation process is when it starts to get warm, you don't take a bath, you don't take a shower, you don't bathe for a week. And I don't mean 5 days, I mean a 7-day week. So, you know, you're walking around, it's 90 degrees, it's 80% humidity. I mean, you can cut the air with a knife, and you're telling me I can't take a shower for a week? So I did it, I tried it. You know, that morning I took a shower, but I considered that day no shower. So I went that whole day. I went the whole next day. By the end of that third day, I had enough. I said, forget this. This is for the birds. I mean, I felt like I was a walking grease pit, you know.
That must have been awful, yeah.
And I took a shower, and I'll tell you right now, that shower felt like golden raindrops hitting my body. I never felt anything so good in my entire life. But, you know, the next day I walked out, and it was still hot. You know, it was still humid. But it just wasn't as hot and as humid. And I realized I could walk around the marina in the sunlight, in the day, in the humidity, and my shirt would be soaking wet. And, you know, I'm drinking a lot of water, but I wasn't sweating as much. And, you know, when I really wasn't thinking about it, I wasn't really all that hot. And now, of course, my blood's like ice water. You know, I mean, the temperatures hit somewhere around 70 degrees, and I'm putting a jacket on. You know, but these days it worked. It worked, and I couldn't believe it worked. And I got a pretty good response from that. It was pretty. People like that article, but they can't believe it. I couldn't believe it when I heard it. So, you know, there you go. You want to get acclimated? Stop taking a bath.
Excellent. Wow. That's great advice, I think. We'll find out. But, you know, you can all
Of course, I could be pulling your leg, too.
Yeah, well, that's not going to be the first time that's ever happened to me. I am in Mexico. But, yeah, if you want to read some great articles, that Living Like a Local, that column is very funny, and it's got great advice. So make sure you check that out for sure.
You know, I did write one about hurricanes in Puerto Vallarta. Something people always ask me about hurricanes. They always ask about the mountain. So I went out and I did a little research, and I put a really nice article up there about Puerto Vallarta hurricanes and what you should expect and what you should understand. You know, so I would recommend that people actually read that article.
Yeah.
You know,
especially if you're coming in like August, September, and October.
Especially.
Yeah, October especially, because that's Vallarta's favorite month. Anything else? Is there anything else that we need to talk about?
Well, you know, a lot of people like the bay. They love the bay. They like the species out there, and they don't really understand that the bay out here, there's a big theory out there that the Puerto Vallarta Bay is kind of like Diamond Head. That at one time it was a giant volcano, and that the front over the eons of the opening of the bay wore away. And we actually have places out here, you can go 15 miles out there. It's only 30 feet deep.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But then there's a spot over there not too far from Los Arcos. I know this because we had a Scripps Institute here about 12 years ago, and they were running around the bay. They were mapping the bottom of the bay. And they found an area there where they had a 10,000-pound bathysphere. It was solid lead. Just imagine a giant lead sinker. It was 10,000 pounds. And they dropped it in a hole over there near Los Arcos. And the bathysphere stopped sinking because the water got denser than the lead.
Whoa.
So there's a bottomless pit out there in the bay. They don't even know how deep it is. I think they got it down to something close to, I don't know. I don't even want to say anything stupid, but it was so deep that the thing stopped sinking, you know. So,
Wild.
yeah, so this whole giant bay here might have been a giant volcano. Of course, with the mountains and everything around here, that would be a good indication.
Yeah.
But very interesting. So a lot of people don't know that, and that's one of the big reasons the whales come into the bay. And because it's shallow and the water is temperate and it's very easy to have babies and protect the babies, and because we get so much krill squid and we get shrimp, and, you know, right now there's so much small bait for these whales, they're just swimming around the place with their mouth open, you know, and that's what keeps them here. And it's easy food for the babies, and, of course, everybody loves the whales.
Right.
So the bay itself is something that I think everybody should get on, because it's almost like going to Aspen and not going skiing in the wintertime. It's like, okay, it's a great place and everything, but you missed half the experience.
Get on the bay.
Get in the bay.
Get on the water.
Do something. Get on
Even
the
if you're
water.
not fishing, just get out there.
Yeah, just get on the water. You'd be glad you did. It'll be a completely different experience for you.
Wow. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the
Well,
show.
thanks for having me. This is my first podcast. I don't know. I hope I don't sound too much like a virgin here.
You sound great. You're perfect. Perfect. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for letting me introduce Masturbators Sports Fishing to my listeners. I really appreciate that.
Anytime, come on back. And remember, we won't jerk you around.
All right, Stan. Great advice. Great stories. And hilarious T-shirts. I mean, you got to look at them. I've got pictures of them in the show notes. Check them out. I went to the Wayback Machine, Google, of course, and lo and behold, I found an article in the Los Angeles Times. Let me read it from you from AP, from Associated Press. This was October 5th, 2007. Tampa. Southwest Airlines said it plans to apologize to a Florida passenger after an employee forced him to change out of a sexually suggestive T-shirt or risk getting thrown off a plane. The incident Sunday in Columbus, Ohio, came after Southwest Airlines created a public uproar by telling a woman on a flight in July that her outfit was too revealing for her to fly. Largo resident Joe Winicki said he was sitting in the last row of a Columbus to Tampa flight when an employee told him that he had to change his T-shirt, turn it inside out, or get off the plane. The shirt, bought in the Virgin Islands, uses sexual double entendre to promote a fictional fishing tackle shop. The largest letters reads, Masturbator. Winicki argued that the airline was violating his right to free speech, but changed rather than risk getting kicked off the flight and missing a day of work. It's really disappointing in this country that you can't travel from Ohio to Florida with clothes on my back, Winicki said. Who's to say what's offensive and what's not? Southwest spokesman Chris Maines said the employee made a mistake. It was inappropriate for our employee to approach Joe, he said. We don't have a dress code. Only in extreme situations would we want to address this to our customers. The issue of in-flight attire moved into the national spotlight when San Diego College student Kayla Ebert showed up for a Southwest flight in July wearing a denim and miniskirt and a summer sweater over a tank top. An employee objected and asked her to change or leave the plane and get new clothes. Ebert was allowed to fly. After agreeing to alter her outfit, the airline later apologized and tried to make light of the mix-up in humorous advertising. So, it just goes to show you that any kind of media promotion can just basically catapult you, right, into the stratosphere. Who knew masturbating was just so disturbingly unpopular aboard aircraft? Oh, well. I have links, and I have pictures, and I have maps. It'll take you to the front door of Masturbators Sports Fishing, and they are in the show notes, so go on, check them out. Get a T-shirt next time you're down in Puerto Vallarta. And thank you, Stan. All right, that should do it this week. Next week, stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant and excursion ideas, and more. But until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something I should be talking about, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us your message. And remember, if you are considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com. That's JR's website. Go reserve a tour through him, right from JR, right from his website. Remember, this is a value for value proposition, my friends. His experience, his on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta, in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were going to use someone else. So do it, really. And when you do take one of those tours, please email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us a message. And don't forget, he's got maps, he's got DIY tours, he's got his revitalized happy hour board and more. I have links to all of those in the show notes. And once again, if you like this podcast, please take time and subscribe and give me a good review on iTunes or wherever you happen to listen to the show. Share it with a friend. Let them know that it's there, okay? We can get the word out to more people about this magical place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with every episode I create. But if you haven't been to my website, you really need to have a look there. I have links to the places that we talk about, interesting pictures and more, all right there in my blog posts and the show notes for each episode of the show. So check them out for sure, all right? Okay. Thank you, Stan Gebruk from Masturbator Sportfishing and Tackle in Puerto Vallarta. Make sure you check out his articles over in PV Mirror, over in Vallarta Today. I have links, I have maps, I have some YouTube videos as well. Anyway, go take a look. I've got all that stuff right there in the show notes that take you right to the front door of Masturbators. If you're thinking about chartering a fish trip, Stan's your man, okay? Charter a trip or just stop buy a great t-shirt, bring home to the little ones. Something they can wear to school or to the neighbor's house, right? I'll link this all up. You can use it in the show notes too. Remember, he's got that online store. I'll link that up as well. You don't have to fly all the way down to Puerto Vallarta to get a good t-shirt, okay? All right, thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler signing off with a wish for you to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
Noche de arrullo.